Pretty crazy event that occurs in the middle of the 10th parak in Sefer Yehoshua. Hail, the sun and the moon just stop. It's a whole discussion how long it stops for. We're gonna say a few ideas about this. There's a lot of length. There's a lot written about this, a lot discussed about this topic. We will start with the psukim. Last time we left off, the ninth pasuk. Pasuk reads like this: "Vayavo Elohim Yehoshua pitom." Yehoshua came to them, pitom, suddenly, quickly, as Metzudas Yon explains. Kol halayla, Allah mina Gilgal. The entire night he was coming from Gilgal. This is referring to Yehoshua protecting the Givonim from the five Amorite kings. So he came to them quickly, yeah? By Yehumim, Metzudas Sion explains over here, Melashon Mahumu Bilbul. He confused them. By Yehumim Hashem Lefnei Yisrael. Actually, Hashem confused the enemies by the Jews, for the Jews. Vayakem HaGadol, he hit them very hard, Begivon and Givon. V'yurdafim derech Maila, and he chased them the way of the ascent to Beis Choron, to Choron. Vayakem Arazaka Vad Makida, and he struck him up until Azeko and until Makida. Vayehi Benusam Mipnei Yisrael Haim B'moirod Beis Choron. And it was when they were running from the Jews, they were on the descent of Beis Choron. VaHashem Yishliach Aleim Avonim Gedolim. Hashem threw on them big rocks. Call that hail, big stones. Min Hashemayim, from the skies. At Azeka, until Azeka v'Yamutzu, and they all died. Then the pasuk specifies, Rabbim asher mitu ba'avnei abard ma'asher hargu b'nei Yisrael b'cherev. More people died from those rocks, from this hail, than were actually killed by the sword itself. So that's just some idea of how many people were hurt by this. What's the idea with these large stones over here? So the Gemara in Brachos Nandalid Amid Beis teaches us that these hailstones actually go back in history. Moshe, he prayed that the plague, Moshe was mispalel that the Makkah of Barud, the plague of hail, should stop. And the plague should end. The hail stopped and it was in the midair. Rashi explains in Shmos, Teslam and Gimel. Where did that hail go? That hail was saved and then fell down over here, in this episode over here, which is fascinating, Gemara. Az Yidaber, next pasuk continues and says, Az Yidaber Yehoshua la Hashem. Then Yehoshua spoke to Hashem, V'yom seis Hashem es Amor lifnei B'Yisrael. On the day that Hashem delivered the Amorites to in front of the Jews. Vayomer le'nei Yisrael, and he said in front of the Jews, Shemesh begivon dome. The sun in Givon should just stand still. Yareich beimak ayalon, and the moon in the valley of Ayalon should stand still as well. Tremendous, miraculous event. The sun stood still. The Metzudas explains they were worried that there wasn't going to be a proper sunset. There wasn't going to be enough time until sunset to finish the battle, to kill everyone. And therefore, Yehoshua asked the sun to set. We're going to see there's going to be other explanations, and Mohammed always provides actually 8 explanations to this over here. How long did the sun uh, stand still for? The Radak, towards the end of this pasuk, quotes a Pirkei Eliezer in Nun Aleph. It says it was 36 hours. It just stood there, the sun. And the reason for this was that this happened Erev Shabbos, according to some. It was Shabbos. Now, the question is, why can't you fight on Shabbos if you have to fight? Chamas mitzvah. So, really, the war wasn't for them. It was really for the people of Givon to protect them. The next pasuk continues and says, "Vayidom Hashemesh." That's what the sun did. It stood still. Ve'areach hamad, and the moon also stood still as well. Ad yikom goy oivav, until they took retribution. The nation took retribution against its enemies. Alohi, is this not? Meaning it is Ksuva al Sefer Yashar, in the book of the straight. The sun stood still in the halfway point of the sky. Below Otz Lavo, and it didn't hasten to set. Kiyom Tamid, for a whole day. Didn't set for a whole day. Pretty miraculous. Below Haya Kiyoim Ahu Lefanav V'Achoirav L'Shmoya Hashem B'Kol Ish. There was no day like this ever again, before or after, that Hashem listened to the voice of man. Hashem nilcham Yisrael, because Hashem waged the war for the Jews on that day. This is a pretty miraculous event over here. Sun setting doesn't happen often. Should add the following idea. We understand why the sun had to stop, but why the moon? Why did Yehoshua have to stop the moon as well? Excellent question. The Jewish calendar is a lunar one, and it's based on the moon. The moon is incredibly crucial. Other than Kiddush Levana, Kiddush Levana is a small part. Not that it's not a very special mitzvah. But if the sun, only the sun was still and not the moon, all of the dating of the holidays would have been confused. Because it's only because of the moon that we're able to figure out when our holidays are, Yom Tovim. Yehoshua therefore had to stop both of them. That's what the Bnei Yissaschar explains. Kiddush HaChodesh. Aleph. Tes. We see from over here something very special. Remember, the peace treaty that was made with the Givonim was only under a false pretense, as we discussed in the past. But still, going to this war to protect the Givonim was the Kiddush Hashem, a sanctification of Hashem's name. Yehoshua went above and beyond, so to say. Hashem reciprocated that by causing the sun to stand still at Yeshua's request, as Yehoshua asked for. And this increased Yeshua's stature. The truth of the matter is, there's another episode in which the sun stood still, and that is the Gemara in Titanus. The Gemara over there, towards the bottom of Yud Testament Bays, 10 lines from the bottom, discusses over there until Chaf Amud Aleph, towards around the middle of the Amud, where the lines start getting bigger in the Gemara, wider. Nakdimon Ben Gurion. We're not going to repeat that because we already discussed that in the past. See what we discussed over there on Tinus. other person the sun stood for, as the Gemara over there in Taina says, is for Moshe. There's a very interesting medrash in the Koheles Rabbah in Tes. The story of Abba Tachanu. The sun also stood for him. He was very pious, and he was careful in observing Hashem's mitzvahs. But his job forced him to stay away from home the whole week, and he would return on Erev Shabbos Friday with a bundle of food and some new clothing for his family. Preparing for Shabbos and its preparations were incredibly important for him, and he always hurried to get home early so he'll have enough time to prepare himself properly and help out his family. When he was walking on the road, he saw a man lying on the side who was groaning and in a lot of pain, and he said, "Please help me. I can't get up myself. Could you please help me to get to my house?" So he was in a quandary. He had a difficult decision to make because on the one hand, it's Erev Shabbos, his family was eagerly awaiting his arrival and the food he was bringing, and he knew that he couldn't take care of this man and get home on time because he couldn't carry the bundle and the man. And if he left his bundle behind, it would probably be stolen. And if he brought home the bundle first and then came back for the man, who knows? Maybe he'd be dead. So he had no doubt what the proper thing to do was. He picked up the man, put him across his shoulders, and he went slowly down the road till he came to his house, put down the man, and then he returned to his bundle, and he was happy that it was where he left it. Picked it up, started to walk fast because Shabbos was coming soon. He entered his town when the sun was setting. People started to whisper, "Could this be the Abba? He's always so careful to observe Shabbos. What happened to him today? It's almost Shabbos and he's still in his work clothing." Even though he knew that he performed a great mitzvah, which had also caused him to arrive near Shabbos, he felt a little upset that people were seeing him arriving late. So he said, he gave out a prayer and he said, "Hashem, I don't want to desecrate the holy Shabbos." Hashem saw how troubled he was, and he returned. He stopped the sun, just like in the time of Yehoshua, like we're learning about. And everyone realized, oh, it's not Shabbos yet. He rushed home to his family, and he had tremendous gratitude to Hashem, who aided him and allowed him to do two mitzvahs that day: rescue the man and bring proper food home and help his family with the Shabbos preparations. Pretty miraculous event. And you next time.